Self-care for me is actually, deeply respecting myself and my needs and who I am and learning about that. Working with people who are dying, it's, you're witnessing an incredible amount of suffering, not just the people who are dying, but their families and their caregivers. So, you're there with people, you're there with their suffering. So the importance of knowing your own suffering, it's really important to have those things in place, a plan, a strategy to take care of yourself.
Self-care I define as being an intentional replenishment of your energy sources. Starting out as a junior doctor, you're full of energy, you want to help, you want to do things, and you don't necessarily think about caring for yourself. I found myself burnt out. And at that time, I really understood what it meant to feel like your work was overwhelming. The cases and the things that you were seeing were too much. At that point, I felt quite depressed. I was sad all the time. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to, and it was overwhelming that I'd worked so hard for so many years to be at a point where I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. I think that self-care is a really important part of medicine and practice in palliative care. Anyone, from doctors to people who are carers, to people who are cleaners, because when we're all experiencing the same sort of distress and the same sort of issues in clinical situations, it means something to care for yourself intentionally in the areas of your physical health, your emotional health, your psychological health, and your spiritual health.
I think we oscillate between being like super empathic to the point where, we're a bit of a teary mess, to kind of getting a bit hardened and kind of having a dialogue that's a bit negative. It's not something you just kind of tick a box. So it's about not forgetting. In a way, that's what self-care is about. It's about prioritising yourself in the picture. It's not just about giving and doing, it's actually about you as well.
There seems to be a false sense sometimes that we can either only care for others or we can care for ourselves. And of course, with that dichotomy, self-care may seem selfish, but the truth is caring for others involves caring for ourselves.
Self-care to me as a doctor is critical. I think it's almost like a sort of a fundamental clinical skill. It's something that is sort of reflective and considered. Like it's something that you actually sort of have to think through. What does self-care mean to me now, and how do I do that best? And we think self-care might be important, but it's also something that we actually do, not something that we just think about. I don't think you really can care in a sustainable, authentic, holistic way for people without caring for yourself as well. And so I think therefore it is really critical. It's self-care is actually on some kind of level caring for everybody. You have to start with yourself.